Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and we are about to get started with the Dispatchers Roundtable, Round 16. But first, as always, a word from our sponsors.
At InDigital, we know that public safety professionals hold themselves to a high standard. In fact, standard doesn't do it justice. In over 25 years working alongside you, carrying millions of calls over our IP networks, your dedication has inspired us. That's why our ESInet goes beyond industry standards, not only I3 compliant, but designed to adapt to future development for a network you can count on when it matters most. Learn more at indigital.net.
Rapid Deploy believes that every public safety agency, regardless of size, should have access to the data they need when it matters most. That's why, since 2016, our mission has been to reduce emergency response times and improve public safety. We are the industry's only integrated emergency response platform. Our web-based cloud platform includes analytics, mapping, dispatch, and mobile apps, purpose-built for 911 in the 21st century. Visit www.rapiddeploy.com to learn how we enable effective, efficient, data-driven emergency response.
If Within the Trenches has ever taught you something, open your eyes to what it is like to be a 911 dispatcher, or has inspired you to become one, then help support us and join our Patreon. Get exclusive bonus content, one-of-a-kind swag, discounts on merchandise, ad-free early access to new episodes, and much more. To join, please visit patreon.com/WTT podcast. And if you're an industry partner, we have something for you as well. And now, for the show.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
All right, and we're back. And, I need to create the Dispatchers Roundtable intro, because if I had let it go on past that part right there, that warning, you would have heard the open mic intro. And that's not the show that we're doing right now. That'll be tomorrow. So I have to put that one together, and you'll have that. Either way, welcome everyone to the Dispatchers Roundtable, and this is going to be round 16. I see a bunch of people already jumping in here in the comments, and this is going to be good. Hello, Roxy. Tanya's in there as well. Hello. And she's in here too. All right, cool. I have my panelists down in the green room, so I can see them down underneath, and they're just like getting down and doing a bunch of stuff, because I was saying, hopefully I can get through this so that I'm not laughing. And of course, they start doing a bunch of bullshit. So here we are. So much fun. I am looking forward to this. So thank you all for joining us. This round, we are going to be talking about the top 5 list of what the public should know when calling 911. So this was something that I posted actually a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to pull up some of that information here, and we're gonna get into where that the topic also came from, because it comes from a good friend of ours. So we had put it out there. There was tons of information. So I hope that all of you who are here in the comments, that you have your top 5 list as well, because I want to see what you have in the comments. And I've got someone here that says, Amy, hello from Montana. No burritos, though. That is amazing. Thank you so much for that. Because when I tell that story, I always say, screw you, Montana, because of the Red Bulls and the Red Bomb burritos. Amy, you're awesome. That was great. Thank you so much. Ooh, I'm getting a flashback there. Holy crap. So literally with that story. Okay, I'm going to stop. All right. So here we go. Jim, what's going on? Hello, everyone. Doug, Kent, Jason, everybody jumping in here. Thank you so very much. Yeah, I see that some of you are saying where you're from. Everyone else, please roll call where you're at, what you're watching from. Please make sure to share this broadcast and react. The more that you put reactions in there and such, the more people will end up seeing this. So please do so, and thank you so very much. This live broadcast is sponsored by InDigital as well as Rapid Deploy, and a big thanks goes out to the patrons for everything. I appreciate it more than you know, and let's get started here. Aurora from Ontario. Hello. How's it going? And okay, everybody's jumping in now. So I'm going to go ahead and get to our guests here so that we can start this round. Once again, your top 5 list. We're going to be going over these. We're going to be kind of dissecting some of this stuff, and we're going to be talking more about public education and such, and what the public can know about all of you and the job that you do, and just some of the things that people just don't know in general. So let's get going here. My first guest is going to be Tanya Lee, and she is the manager at Evans Care, which is from Evans Consoles. And boom. Hello.
I didn't know I was going to be first.
Yeah, dude. It's the way the lineup is.
Yeah, dude.
I'm just going by the lineup here on the bottom in the green room. So, yes. I was kind of hoping, at the moment you were going to be like picking your nose or something, and then I pull you up.
Oh, no, man, I'm ready. You know me. I'm like, don't do anything embarrassing because this is all being recorded.
You're like, I already picked my nose, okay?
I'm good.
So next up, we have owner of the Dispatch Lab, Halcyon Frank, or LeFranc. Hello and welcome. This is going to be fun. I'm excited. For all of you who are watching right now, we were doing a lot of laughing in the beginning, which is why we're a little late. No, it was because I was doing a bunch of other stuff. So last,
we were laughing.
But yeah, we were laughing.
Sorry, we were.
And certainly not least is founder of 9 Wonder Women Inc., Sarah Weston.
Woohoo!
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
What up, yo? What is going on? No, okay. You're like, I don't know.
I'm just here. I'm letting my kids stay up really late. That's what I'm doing.
All right. Perfect. Crystal here says the original Sarah Weston.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see. There he is. What up, dude?
Yeah. He would like an apple. Hey, can you ask Vincent? He'll get you one.
Tell him to DoorDash.
Grubhub.
Yeah, Vince Dash.
Vince Dash. I just told him to Vince Dash, so
perfect.
Hopefully Vince isn't too busy and he can just like scoot over and get him an apple.
I don't know, like
it'll work.
At 5, like he's got a lot going on.
I know. He's totally playing a game right now, so we'll see.
So again, welcome everyone for joining here for round 16 of the Dispatchers Roundtable. I've got my panelists here, and we are about to get started. But I want to give Tanya the floor here really quick in the beginning, because it was a few weeks ago. We were sitting in a conference room there at headquarters of the Denise Amberlee Foundation. We were working on a bunch of stuff for Be the Difference, which was an amazing conference last week. So awesome. And we're working on a project, and I'm going to give you a moment here to kind of talk about this project and what just everything that you're working on. But you had looked over at me and you were talking about kind of a list of what the public should know when they're calling 911. And I kind of gave you a few things, and then I said, you know what? Why don't I just post that on social media, and we'll just get some information from everyone else. And people were answering it like crazy. And I saw you in the comments as well saying, thank you. This is awesome. This is good stuff. So kind of take our viewers through, kind of the thought process, like this project, like what is it that you're doing, that you're working on? And I'm hoping we can get a lot of information tonight and continuing on from here.
Okay. Well, I always like to make goals at the beginning of the year. And so I was sitting there thinking about my personal goals and my professional goals. And I am a big believer in writing them down. So I actually got my book out here to show you guys. For January, it said, "This will be a good year." And I wrote down as my number one professional goal is to educate the general public about 911, with the ultimate goal of people realizing how underappreciated telecommunicators are and encouraging them to start reaching out and saying thank you. Because I think that when you're calling 911, it's typically one of the worst moments of your life for the most part. And to not go back and say thank you to someone who helped you through one of your darkest times seems really awful to me. So that was my goal, is to educate people about 911, how it works, and, just like a lot of misconceptions about 911 in general. So that's where you came in, and I talked to Sarah, I talked to Halcyon about, I want to make a change this year. This year it's going to happen. So that's where it all got started.
Awesome. So it started out with these goals. So, that's one of the biggest things, is public education. When I remember, and it still happens now when I mention it, and it'll probably happen when I go here soon. That's why I'm wearing a hat, because my hair is like, poof. But whenever I go get a haircut, the person cutting my hair is trying to make a little bit of small talk so it's not awkward, which for me, I actually find it just relaxing when someone is just cutting my hair and I'm just sitting there chilling. But if we're talking, they ask, so what do you do? And then, so I mention it, and then, dispatching comes up and stuff. And a lot of people just don't know. And they're actually curious, for myself, that's how all of this started, as well as, a way to, educate the public on different things. So the one thing that I had put out there on social media is, what is on your top 5 list of what you would want the general public to know when calling 911. And for this here, there were so many people who answered. I'm just looking at the comments here from that post, the post on Facebook. And this first one here says, where are you? What is happening now? Who are you? Are weapons involved? And then 5, stay in the line if you accidentally called. Those are some main things right there. And I think actually that's how it's written out at my old dispatch center. It's all lined up like that. But with that, also with those who are watching right now, what is on your list? Like, what are some things that you would want the public to know? And not just when they're calling into 911, but about 911 in general. Halcyon, I want to start with you. What are some things in, talking about the general public and knowing certain things, not just when they call 911, but about 911 when they're calling in?
Oh, that's a long list. Let me just think about what happened yesterday at work and start there. No, I'm just kidding. While you were talking, honestly, my mind really just goes to, no matter the emergency, and we know people are stressed and frantic and it's traumatic, but I think like the number one thing I want them to know is, like, I'm trying the best that I can to get you help. No matter what happens, my only goal is to get you help, whatever that looks like. So the kind of the other stuff that we'll talk about is all like important. But I think if there was one thing I wanted to communicate, it'd be that I'm getting you help. It may not seem like it. It may not feel like it. You may feel like it's taking forever, but I promise you it's happening.
Perfect. And those in the audience, please, jump in here as well. I think that is one of the top things, when people call in, it's their emergency and the priority is them, right? But when we have that calm demeanor like we're supposed to have, that voice and everything, people are wondering, are you really paying attention? Like, are you taking this seriously? But it's because I think when we're talking to people in general, just face to face, which we haven't done in a while, but face to face, if you're heightened up, and when that person's paying attention, they're kind of hyped up as well, right? And it makes you feel like, all right, they feel what I'm feeling. Like they're into it just like me, and they're really paying attention. But when you call into 911 and someone is just calm, are you taking it as seriously as I am? Because I feel like I'm, this is craziness that's going on, and you don't have that same response. But we're not going to have that same response because we have to stay calm, that whole time. Sarah, have you ever had to call 911?
On purpose? Sarah.
On purpose. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I've had to call 911 from a very, very rural area of Pennsylvania. And it felt like it took forever. And this was when I was very, very small. I was 10.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 90s, I think, not to date myself, but it was over a landline. And I come from a very technological background. So I've been involved with 911 from the technology standpoint. So I understand how all of that works. And we called from a landline in the 90s. So they knew exactly where we were. But again, we were in a very rural area. My grandmother was having a heart attack, and they couldn't do anything, and they couldn't get there fast enough to save her. And the only exposure I had to 911 to that point was the show, Rescue 911, if you remember it. And also, if you remember it, you remember that most of the stories they told were people surviving. So what I understood of 911 is I call them and they save your loved ones. And that's it. Like, that's what happens. So it was kind of traumatic for me because, like, we called 911, what's the issue? And I was very little, so I just didn't understand. So, fast forward several years to me working in 911, and I did accidentally call 911 actually like a couple months ago for the first time ever with my smartphone and like pressing buttons. And I stayed on the line and I told them it was an accident. So don't.
Well done.
But maybe, that's part of what the public needs to know, obviously, is like the butt dials. But, we do spend a lot of time, making coloring books and teaching children how to call 911, which is so, so super important. But I do think that we need to educate teens and adults on what is really going on when you call 911. And it's not that people are going to swoop in and save lives, although that does happen. It's more of we're going to get you help as fast as we can.
Mm-hmm. Now, Tanya, to your point here, just like Megan says here, don't assume we get a good map on your cell phone. Always know where you are while traveling.
Please. For the love.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest things there as well. The TV shows that come out, it's not an accurate depiction, except for the newer one, the one that that's on ABC, because that one they're actually showing stuff that's going on there, and things are timed out. But on other shows that are more of a drama type setting, everyone is found like that, and they're right there. And the good thing is that there are companies out there that are doing this stuff. So that stuff is happening. That stuff is going on and all. But, the craziness of some of the shows, that I think that's part of why people get mixed up as well, which is why, like stuff like we're doing right now is so important. What are some of the other things? Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I was just going to say, I just did a webinar like on domestic violence, and it's really hard, and we have to compete like with the pepperoni pizza domestic violence story. Like, great in theory, super awesome that the dispatcher was able to figure out what was going on, but it's just not practical for every 911 center to train that or to, get the public on board with that. So almost, I think, like, as much as what we want the public to know, we also are fighting what we like want them to not know, like want them to not believe. Like, don't believe if you say I want a pepperoni pizza with extra cheese that I'm gonna know you're being held hostage with a gun. But they kind of like latch onto those stories in a way. And then so now we're trying to get the information out there that we want them to have, and then we're also fighting these like myths that shows like 911 are for entertainment, but like don't necessarily help to not perpetuate.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at all the comments that are coming in here as well as other things for people to know. One of these here, Crystal says, we aren't being nosy. We need to know things to get you help. So that is another thing, a huge thing for people to know, that when we're asking all these questions, we're not being jerks. Like me asking these questions are not delaying time at all whatsoever. Also, Karen here says, I'm answering your call, not the one driving to you. That's another thing. Some of the public thinks, has thought that. I've heard that myself before. And let's see. Crystal has another one here, kind of what we said already too. Just because we're still on the phone doesn't mean help isn't on the way. So this is good. There's a lot of good stuff that is coming in here. And there was one here that I wanted to read off. We got one here that says, Tanya is so right about getting a thanks from the caller after the fact. We recently had a plane crash. Thank God they were all saved, or they all survived. And they told the detective covering the case that when they are well enough, they want to come to dispatch to personally thank us. That is going to be a very emotional moment.
I read that one too. It made me happy, and I really hope that they do it.
Yeah, that's a good one right there.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Let's see. I've got another one here is so going with those top 5, where they are, questions aren't delaying response, be accurate. Yes. And what is going on? I think James actually put something similar to that about being accurate and being truthful with the situation that is going on. Because they're gonna that information is crucial to the call. And also it says more people calling 911 from a large incident can delay response when you have 5+ lines ringing and you can't get the dispatch out. Halcyon, how many times have you dealt with that?
My favorite thing though is, like, I kid you not, we literally had like a 2-car injury accident, significant injury accident, I think one day. And the next day we had somebody who, like, part of the stuff on their trailer fell on the road. We had multiple 911s and non-emergencies about being on the road. And I think we had one 911 about the car accident, which just blows my mind. Like, I'm like, okay. It just, yeah. I'm like, I don't know how this works, but okay.
Yeah. So
it's weird.
So there's a couple more things in here, and this one is a good one as well. Is always tell dispatch if there's a time delay in your calling. If you've waited a half hour to call in your robbery, we need to know that. Man, that doesn't seem like a lot, but that is huge, man. That's
a big thing to make sure that they know. Like, it's not happening right now.
Right. Yeah. And especially because if that is not, mentioned on the phone and it's something that crazy happens, that it ends up in the news, man, I say that because I know of an incident where something had happened. The news was just destroying the center. But what they didn't know was that it took the person 2 hours to call in. And what had happened had already happened a long time ago. If the person would have called in right when they thought something was going on, something different might have happened. I don't know. But that's one of those big things there is you have to be honest in that time as well. It's like Jill says right here, don't lie to us. We either know the truth or we're going to find out the truth out real quick.
This is a dangerous topic because I feel like I have a lot of thoughts. I always have a lot of thoughts, and I was surprised by that. But like, just going off of that, like I've had people call in reckless drivers on interstate systems where there's like 17 exits in a 5 mile radius, not literally, but you get the point. And they wait till they get home. So it's in that 30 minutes. And then they have very high expectations that we're going to go actively look for this person from where they last saw them 30 minutes ago. So I would almost like tell people, if you think for any reason this might be an emergency or something you need to contact law enforcement, do it now. Like, instead of waiting because you're just not sure, just do it. And so that way, at least if it is something that, you haven't missed that time period.
Yeah. Natalie here says, I have a different perspective. We need to do a better job of educating the public about 911, and we need to reinforce our people that it's not about us, but the people calling in, which I think a lot of us, feel that way already. She says, meaning we will get stupid calls, non-emergency calls, etc. Getting worked up on these only make it worse for us. Callers have no clue that they caused our blood pressure to go up, etc. I don't know if there's more to it, but that it goes to that, which is why we're doing this as well, because this is stuff for them to know when they're calling in, so that we can go back and forth on this and make it a more smooth transition. Because again, a lot of people they just don't know, but they're also, from what I've found out, they're also curious. All humans are generally curious about certain things. So, when they're asking about stories as well, instead of getting annoyed, that's when we can, educate them as well on certain calls, on something, not the hardcore horrific shit, because we don't want to, we don't want to put that on them at all. But if there are calls that can be used as an educational piece, do it, because that is only going to help all of us involved. Let's see, I'm going through the comments here, so hold on just a second. There's one here. Let's see, Karen says, at the same time, we are 911 professionals. We aren't training professional callers. Most people only call 911 once in their life, with exception to those friends that, in quotes, those friends that we know by name. And this is and this is true. This is very true. A lot of them only call in that one time, which is why it's good that that we're preparing, basically on both sides, because if you're a dick to that person when they call in, they might not ever call in again. And let's say that is, a victim of domestic violence or something, and they're getting shitty stuff at home, and if they get something similar on the phone, dude, they're not going to call in. So that's why we're talking about this and trying to, again, like I said, make this a smooth transition here.
Well, I'm like, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Stop, Ricardo.
Go for it.
I was gonna say, like, the whole public safety itself is just like if I'm a jerk to you calling and my officer goes on scene, now you're probably going to be a jerk to my officer who's like, I'm just trying to help you, instead of, maybe the reason you called in isn't like a super emergency, but I'm still sending an officer. Then my officer can take a moment to educate you, and not in a rude way, but then just to let you know in the future, if you have this issue, call non-emergency, or here's how to better deal with it. So, like, it's not related, but at the same time it is, because when you're a jerk, then if you want to let them know something or educate them on something, you just completely ruined your chance because they don't care what you have to say.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. It's funny how just like, a little thing or a tone or something going off, it can either help or derail the whole thing. Let me see here. Just going through the
That
comments.
makes me think,
So,
was it Charles with a butterfly flap its wings? Would be the difference.
Oh,
That's
yes.
really what it is. That's really all it is. It's like that little thing.
Yeah, you are exactly right. Let me see here. Just reading the comments really quick. There was one that, okay, so Nancy here says public education is paramount, and it would help if we could educate our callers. Exactly. And she says, especially on how systems work in their area.
So I'm wondering, like, what is the best way to educate adults? And I ask that, I'm not being a jerk. I know, like, we educate our children and it's effective, from what I understand. And I know, there's some parts of the country who have effective, like where implementing text to 911, for example, it's a new technology relatively. So there are big like public service announcement campaigns and like billboards and like street benches, like signs. And for text to 911, it's been effective because we take that, we're like, this is new, so we have to educate the public. But I think that we should not give up on the public once they grow up from being children. I mean, I think, we have a certain idea of what 911 does. And especially right now, when we're in a transition from what I call legacy 911 to next gen 911, where we're making improvements, and those improvements aren't improving things for the public, they're meeting public expectations. Do you know what I mean? So like the public right now is like, Uber knows exactly where I am.
Why doesn't I know
where I am? Like when I go for my cell phone, because I don't have a landline. So why does it 911? And there's reasons why, and we don't need to go into that per se, but I'm just, how do we effectively, I think we need to pinpoint what is the most effective way to educate the public that we're working on meeting your expectations. And that's the next generation of 911, essentially. Like going back to the Virginia Tech shootings, and that was like 2006, 2005, 2006, which was a long time ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And kids, college students, were trying to text 911, and back then it just wasn't happening. There was no bounce back. So like right now, if you text 911 and the service isn't available, you at least get a message that says you haven't reached anybody. But like they're texting 911, and it's very, very sad. So I just, I want to talk about, how do we educate adults? What is effective? What's the message that we need to get out there? Not only for when you call, what to expect from your service and how to treat each other, but how can we make this better for both sides?
Yes,
in that way.
I agree with that, and that was why I wanted to start this, and specifically why I wanted to start it with you guys, because I knew that Ricardo would be able to help us maybe create like small little pieces of video to send out there, and then relying on this public safety community to start sharing with all of the people that are outside of this community, start helping get the word out. Because all of us work in the public safety industry together, but we all know a lot of people that don't work in this industry. And I think it's up to us. I think it's up to us to start creating something that's going to catch their attention, and they're going to continue to want to watch. And we'll just do little bits at a time. Like you said, did you know that when you call 911, they don't know where you are? It's not like TV. It's not like Domino's. And this is why. So don't assume that they know where you are when you call. Or did you know, just certain little tiny little bits and pieces that we can start throwing out there and teaching people. And then ultimately, like you said, both sides, it's on both sides. It's for the caller. It's also for the telecommunicator, because they need to know how hard that job is. First of all, a lot of them don't get the training that they need. A lot of them have horrific calls day after day, minute after minute, and that is going to weigh on them. People need to know that too. And I'm just really passionate about this. I want to help, and this is my way to try and help a little bit. We all know 10 people outside of public safety. You tell those 10 people, you tell them to share, and it goes.
I think the biggest, the biggest like to go. I think for like a lot of us, and they say just in general, is we have to be willing to acknowledge that instead of getting angry because somebody doesn't know something, maybe it's on us to help people learn. Instead of just being annoyed with callers because they don't understand, we have to ask questions, they don't understand why we repeat their address 17 times because we can't understand them and want to make sure it's right. We have to be willing to acknowledge, like, maybe I can look into how can I help my agency put out some public education? How can I, in my day-to-day life, help people learn? And not because, like, and not to feel like you have to do all this extra work, but then kind of at the same time, like if you tell 10 people, you go out and then they tell a couple people, now your job load is slightly reduced because these people know more. And maybe they don't call 911 for the cow who's on the road. They just call the non-emergency line and let you know.
That's one of the number one things that I was horrified by when I started working in this. I mean, I was just like your average person on the street coming into this industry, and I was blown away. I was just like, what do you mean it doesn't take them months and months and months of training to be doing this job? What do you mean they don't know where we are? And really, seriously, what do you mean that people call and want to know why their pizza isn't there in 30 minutes? Like, I was like, what are you talking about right now? That just seriously was crazy to me. So again, it's another reason why I'm like so passionate about that.
Yeah, that's one of the things too, or reasons, my mom jumps into the comments sometimes because she likes learning about all of this stuff. And, she didn't know, like I would tell her things and she would say, for real? I'd say, yeah. Like you would be surprised, that people call 911 to ask for parade times or, whichever. And so, there's a lot of stuff like that she was blown away with as well. But I want to look in the comments here really quick. There are tons of them that have come in, but I am looking at some of the stuff from like 4 or 5 minutes ago now, because there were some here that I wanted to hold on to. But I had put in the question of what is the best way to educate adults, going off of what Sarah was asking a moment ago. And so some of the people that were in here were posting, we use our Facebook page to educate. For example, we'd walk them through texting 911 in a post, or walk them through calling in a scam to, the Attorney General. Caitlin here, Caitlin is going to be on next week talking about social media and public safety and stuff. She says community HOA meetings were great for me. Give them a rundown and a flyer and answer questions. Love those. So this is good stuff here. Another person put, I do public events pre-COVID and talk to citizens about 911. Now this one here I thought was pretty interesting, and I don't know if any of you do this. And those who are watching right now, it's probably in the comments and I just haven't seen it. But Jill says, instead of a Citizens Police Academy, do a similar one for dispatch. I think that would be cool to do it. I know that there's some legal shit that goes on because of stuff that you're going to be running and all, but if people are able to come into the dispatch center for the Citizens Police Academy, I don't know what hoops anyone would have to go through. Halcyon, just talking about that right now, you're in a position, you could probably answer this. How would that work?
I know nothing. Well, I don't think you.
All right, so next question.
I know nothing.
Moving right along.
Yeah.
Remember when I said I have thoughts? I lied. I have no thoughts. I mean, well, I think it's like I've done it before, not for the public, but just for even like people. We did one. I helped with one that was for like high schoolers who are interested in law enforcement. And so I just did a brief overview of what you do as dispatch. Sometimes it's a little easier to get into dispatch before, into law enforcement. So those kind of things, but it's really similar to what I would probably teach the public. Here's what you do. And really, I think even if it's like a 10-minute and you get your 5 main points, so you put out what's your 5 things you want callers to know. If you can get in a room and just tell them that, like even that alone can be effective. It doesn't, you don't have to like ask, the police, who's ever hosting it, for a large chunk of time. It really can be that simple, I think. Just even getting that information out, letting them hear it. Because I think so many people don't know that if you just say it, then they're like, oh, okay. And then they go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any hoops or anything that you would have to jump over? Because, you're running different things in NCIC and stuff like that. The only reason I ask is because we would cover everything up. Everything would be minimized so that people could come around and look at certain things and, just kind of see how we're running stuff in there. And I see some people in here talking about how they miss some of that as well. I've been out of dispatch for almost 8 years now, and that was one of the things that I miss as well, is having, they would tell us, okay, tonight you guys are going to have a Citizens Academy come in, and of course we'd be like, okay, put your shit away. We got to, because some of us
knitting away.
Yeah, laptops, knitting, or someone's munching on a hoagie or something. I don't know, but anyway, we would have stuff like that going on, and we would see them walk by, and you're like, "Oh, okay, here they come." Yeah, look busy, and they would walk in, and there would just be traffic here and there. I think there was maybe once or twice out of the time I was at my last dispatch center where shit hit the fan, and we're just going to town, and everyone's, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Oh, what's going on?" And then, the person who's, parading them around and stuff was like, "Okay, we got to go." They're like, "For real? Can we wait?" But so that was one of the coolest things, when we did get the chance to talk to them, we would tell them certain things like, this is what this computer does, that's what this does. And, we would tell them straight up when a call comes in, we don't, depending on how it hits, especially on a cell phone, we're not going to be able to tell exactly where you're at. And I remember one lady going, she just gasped, and I was like, "Yeah, dude."
Yeah.
I didn't say "yeah, dude" to her, but I was like, "Yeah, we can't,
right.
we won't." Yeah,
We don't know.
you better know where you're at. No, I didn't say that, but that was one of the things that I miss is having people come in so that we could tell them about that, and they were eating it up, man. They did enjoy it.
We do have
I
a
like
window.
what Karen said in there. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
What was that?
I like what Karen said in there about a day in the life of, that would be another cool thing to add into this video is, video footage of a day in the life of, we get these heart-wrenching, rip your heart out calls to the, I can't find my cheeseburger I just ordered at McDonald's kind of thing. I don't know. I'm just making it up. But, it would be good to put that in there as well.
I guarantee someone has called about that. That's why I laughed. Because I guarantee
it's
someone
ridiculous.
Somewhere.
Yes. Okay, true story. And I need to clear this up because I told people last week that I taught my kids not to call 911. But I forgot to mention, I told them only if it's not an emergency. So if you call 911 and it's not an emergency, they'll come and arrest you. That's what I taught my kids. The reason why I did it is because I had lots of friends. We all had kids at the same time. And some of my friends would be like on the toilet and their kid would go and call 911 and say, "My mommy's pooping. I don't know what to eat for lunch." I really did that. And I was just like, I cannot have that happen. So
that's my favorite call ever.
All of my kids have thought that it is illegal to call 911 if it's not a true emergency and you'll get arrested. And my daughter just learned last year that was not true. So
I mean, but it is. If you call a lot and it's not emergency, you can get arrested.
I didn't want my kids to ever do it because they would have been the ones that were like, "Yeah, so my mom is in the bathroom and my sister took my Fruit Loops." Like they would have done that kind of thing. So I ruled, with fear. That's what I did.
So sue me.
All right, so that's our time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us again. This was a lot of fun.
To clear that up, people were like, "Oh, poor Emily. She should know to call 911." I was like, "Wait, she did know that if it was an emergency, she could call."
I'm not
We are
even mom.
fine, Tanya, because my kids would have to know like the password to my phone.
They did know my password to my phone. That's the problem. They did know it.
Back like when I have younger brothers and they were probably like 5, 6 or something, and this was before I had no concept of 911. And I remember they're playing in a room, and my mom goes, "Go get your brothers before they call 911." Ha ha ha. So I go, they're playing on the phone, and I hang it up, not thinking, and somebody calls back, and like I don't answer it. So then this officer shows up at our door, and like my dad is a big guy. So they could hear like my little brothers kind of fighting with each other in the background. And so my dad goes to the door, and he's like 6'2", like kind of an intimidating guy. And the officer's like, "Is everything okay here?" And like just looking my dad up and down, like, "What's going on?" We're like, no, it's not our brothers. It's fine.
See? And that's why you teach your kids you'll get arrested if it's not an emergency.
Should have told them that. That's where my mom went wrong.
I just wanted to make sure people knew.
Lessons. If there's anyone out there who watched Arrested Development and teaching your kids lessons, shout out. Also, Peggy, thank you. We make Queen fans in this house.
Love me some Queen. Kent here says, my daughter called 911 when she was 4 because she wanted to speak with her animated hero, Fireman Sam. I felt like such a failure as a parent and 911 professional.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Oh my gosh. So, like, I know here, this is an anniversary of Carrie's Law or a day. Maybe, is it today or a recent day?
Yesterday or today.
Okay.
Yeah.
I grew up working in a 911 consulting firm, and we worked in an office because it was pre 2020. So here we were, like this 911 consulting firm, and there was a cop at our office like every day because you had to dial 9 to get an line. And the amount of times we accidentally dialed 911, like there was always a police officer, and it was so embarrassing because
Yep.
That's pretty funny. Actually, there was a conversation with my kids yesterday, I believe, talking about Carrie's Law and 911 and how at businesses and hotels and other places and stuff you'd have to call 9 first. And I said to my 9-year-old, I said, what have we taught you to do when you call 911? And she goes, well, you call 911 and you give this information or whichever. And I said, yeah, and she goes, but I didn't. That's crazy about places, businesses or whichever that you would have to call another or use another 9. She goes, that's not how I was raised. And I said, well, exactly. That's what that is about. And that's why, we do what we do and education and all this other stuff. And so, yeah, it's good that, that they're learning all of that as well. Cause that's another big thing, for people to know. So one of the things that I put in here though, cause as we're talking about all of this stuff too, is I had asked, how do you explain your job to someone who is not in public safety? So Halcyon, how do you, I already see you smiling. How would you explain it? How would you explain to someone when they asked you what it is that you do?
I don't even know. Well, I don't just answer phones. I think I say that. Like, I don't just answer phones. Common misconception.
With a snap? Because
like,
those little sassy with the neck going and shit.
I don't just answer phones if that's what you think. I I don't even know. I don't know the last time I explained it to somebody necessarily what I did. I think I just usually kind of tell them like, yeah, you just, you gotta answer the phone, and then there's a radio, and then it can get, a little tricky. And um, I think they just ask more specific questions. So I don't know if I've like ever described it. I'm basically just like a multitasking badass. Um,
Okay.
I think
Well,
that
I
sums
was
it
just
up.
curious because I had put that in there. And so there's a couple of things in here. One person says, I don't anymore. They think I'm crazy for doing what we do.
Fair.
Another person says, I feel like it takes at least a 5-minute spiel sometimes. LOL. Oh, love Fireman Sam. Someone commented in here. But another one said, I tell people I multitask and babysit citizens and first responders. Another person says gently. And then someone says, I tell people I get to tell cops where to go and get away with it.
Oh,
That
I
was
do.
That
I
makes me
do
laugh.
often tell people I take someone else's problem and make it someone else's problem. That's my favorite.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
So
That's brilliant. Can I talk about that for a minute?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
I'm not a dispatcher, so I have a ton more respect for your profession than you do, Pascal.
Oh shit.
Excuse me.
From an
Damn.
outside perspective.
Yes, from an outside perspective.
So when people ask me what I do, I get the eyes glaze over within moments. So I won't go into that. But with the nonprofit, now when people ask what I do, I need to take the time to explain to people why a nonprofit exists to support 911 dispatchers. And the way that I usually go about that is that you answer calls for people on their worst days and their most vulnerable moments. You have to listen to things that most people in the general population can't even imagine happening, let alone listening to it happen. You have to instruct parents on how to try to save their children when they're not breathing, and try to save suicidal callers, try to talk them through it. We see movies of people standing on the cliff, and these super trained negotiators come in, usually men, who sorry, I just had to get that in, who are trained to talk them down and like work their super trained magic, and that's something that you do on a daily basis. So it's usually a long explanation, but all joking aside, deserve all the credit in the world, and you do a job that people can't even fathom, which I think that's why it's hard for you all to explain what you do, because it's so complicated and so nuanced. And I don't like you. I know your humor helps you through it, and that's awesome, and I love it. But what you do is so amazing, and I think that's one of the things that Tanya is trying to do here is educate the public that there's somebody there who's there no matter what. Like, no matter what your emergency is, they have to get you help. And there's no one else that can do that. There's no one else in society that's doing that. And it's really special, and y'all should be really proud of what you do. And thank you.
You're so nice.
Very nice. Yeah. I think and in no way this is a plug or anything, but I think this is why the stories shared for the I Am 911 movement really helped bring awareness to what dispatchers do, because these were little stories that were a glimpse, just a glimpse into some of the calls that people have taken. And just thinking back on a lot of for example, my sister told me once, she goes, a friend of mine that I hadn't heard from in a while, she ended up sending me something and saying, I don't know if you've seen this, but you should check out these stories. And she goes, she shared the link to your podcast and that album with all of those stories. And I had to send her a message back and say, my brother started that. and she was like, oh, well, that's amazing. You know, the things that these people do, answering these calls and what they take with them, holy shit, like how are they doing, how do they do this job? So I mentioned that only to you know, add to what you're saying, that, and also that I think sometimes us ourselves, we also don't give ourselves enough credit in what we do. And um and with sharing these stories, people were able to see that. We pulled back the curtain on the crazy shit that happens in this job, in this profession, this industry. And people got, you know, just a raw look at the emotion that comes with each and every one of those calls. So that as well, you know, there was one time someone asked me, I was a guest on someone's podcast, and they asked me what dispatch was like. Like, can you tell me what it's really like? You know, what it is that you do. And I said to the person, I want you to imagine 3 different phone calls. Your first one is an accident with injuries. You're taking this call. You've got help going out to it. The next call that you take, because it's crazy busy in there, is a domestic call. There's no weapons. No one's been hurt. They're just yelling at each other. It's verbal. You have to put them on hold. So you've got 2 calls that are going, right? You put that second one on hold to get another one, and it's a medical. You're doing CPR. EMS is going that way, and someone is doing textbook CPR. They have a certain amount of compressions and such that they can do. So you get just a moment to check on that domestic, and now there's weapons involved. Who do you stay with? And the person's like, this is what you do? And I said, yeah, you know, at that point, EMS is already heading that way. They're doing CPR. They're almost there. So you're now on the phone with this call because it's in progress. There's weapons. Your officers are heading that way, and you need to make sure you know what is going on for that one. Just like that accident, everyone is already headed out there, and they're going to be fine. But you have to think on your feet on what to do, and you're triaging. And the person was just blown away as to what it is that I did for a living, and it was crazy. But this is what we're doing here.
The outcome, like that's like even the bigger part is never knowing, like, were they okay, and did they make it, and are they going to live? Like, I would need to know that. But nope, you guys are on to the next call, to the next emergency, to the next person that needs help without even being able to process all of the stuff that you heard and had to say, and then on to the next one. That's what's mind-blowing about it even more, is that no closure.
And it almost goes farther than even like public education, in a sense. Like, it even goes to like family education, just in general, of knowing this role. Like, you know, when people want to ask you questions and you don't maybe want to talk, or just giving you space, or just like knowing if you're sitting there crying, it probably has nothing to do with them, and is, you know, something from the night before or the day before, whatever it is. And so there's just really there's really just a lot of facets that we can look to educate people on. You know, you've got the public education piece about when they're calling a 911, but also how it affects dispatchers. So if you know them on a personal level, like don't text me during an incident because you think I'm working to try and get information, or, you know, don't go on the agency Facebook page trying to get information. Like, there's just so many, like, and I think that's what makes it so hard, is because you kind of just have to pick a place to start, like how, you know, Tanya's kind of, okay, like, you know, let's look at 5, or pick a place to start and just go from there, because there's just so many places that you can, you know, things that you can deal with.
Because it's big. It's it almost feels like it's too big, but it's also too important to not start somewhere. And so that's why I'm really glad I have you guys.
This is my soapbox. It's a huge undertaking to educate the public and to gain more respect for what you do. It's huge. And I'm one person, and Tanya's one person, Ricardo's one person, Halcyon's one person. But taking steps like this and trying and coming together and making this one effort amongst us to try to educate the public and gain more respect, this is going to make a difference. We have to take this step together. And I know, like, it's just me. Like, what could I possibly do? Like, I'm doing my job. I'm doing my job.
$10,000.
I'm just saying, but yes, like, that's what it turns into. Like, y'all have to take the step with us and do it with your humor, do it with your sarcasm, Halcyon. That's cool. Like, let's do this. But we can, and we are making a difference already. And yes, the whole reclassification thing, like,
yes, that's the ultimate goal, or one of them, because that needs to happen.
It's a very important step, but it's a step, and a lot of steps led up to that, and a lot are going to come after it. And I love that that's a thing that we could all huddle around and go for, and that's awesome. But let's get on this bus. Like, we're on it.
So fantastic.
Yes.
Sarah's taking us
on this mother bus and get reclassified and keep going. We can do it.
It's true. And it
does.
The public education goes right into reclassification. And I will say that some might be a little like, I don't want to offend anybody on the other side of the radio, but sometimes public education starts within our own agency. If you're sworn, if you're fire, if your EMS don't know what you do, sometimes that can be the first step. Like, you don't even need to reach out to the public. If you can get them to understand what you're doing, sometimes that's the first step that you need to take, because then they can communicate that information. They can educate the public.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Kent here says, a previous agency I worked with did a quarterly family orientation day for the family and friends of new TCs. I'd love to expand that to a recurring thing for families of all our team. Dude, that is badass.
Awesome.
That is. Yeah. We need to make that happen everywhere.
That is really good too. I like that a lot. Let's see. We got one here that says, we have a public FB page that tries to give out current information, and then they bombard us with questions we are not able to answer right away, as it's someone working the floor also getting those messages out there, and then they get frustrated. We are a definite resource. So this, I've heard this happening, with some pages as well, and this is also a topic that we're going to be talking about next week Wednesday at the same time for round 17. So we're going to be talking about this as well. So, there's the good and the bad of social media and pages sometimes. But that is definitely something we're going to be talking about as well. Let's see. Hold on a minute here. So I ended up putting a question in here as we were talking about the public and calling and everything. But, Sarah, you had mentioned texting. So that's another thing. So I put in here, I said, real quick, when texting 911, what should the public be aware of? And we've got some in here that says texting is slow as molasses. Another one says, don't use texting.
For sure.
don't use texting lingo during a session with 911 plain language only. Yes, that's another thing there. Even with the most public education, sometimes people don't know. And the reason I say this is because when I was still working with in digital, we had texting, or we still do, or they have texting throughout the entire state of Indiana. So anywhere in Indiana and I believe the surrounding states, some of those agencies, you can text to 911. And I went into a gas station once, and I had my work polo on with the InDigital logo on it, and the guy's like, "So what do you guys do there? What do you do at InDigital?" And I started telling him about text 911, and he goes, "Really?" He goes, "How long have we had that?" And I said, "Well, at least in the state of Indiana since 2014, actually 2013, and then it was statewide for text to 911. See, in Indiana they have text from 911 that started in 2013, and then in 2014 they started their statewide deployment." For text to 911. So I was telling him how about that, and he goes, "Well, why would you need text to 911? Like, why would I want to do that?" And I said, "Well, I mean, if someone broke into your house and you were hiding, would you want them to hear you calling?" And he goes, "You're right. You're right."
Hey, there is
Yeah.
a reason.
Yeah. He goes, dude, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I wouldn't want someone to find me. I can just be in there like this. And I said, "Yeah, exactly, bro." And he goes, "Dude," he goes, "you just made my fucking day, man. That was great." And I said, "All right, awesome." And I went to work and I told one of my bosses about it, and he's like, "Well done." And I was like, "Yeah." I don't know.
For one
But-
verse.
But
think-
yeah, that's one of the things that people don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
Indiana, I think they coined the slogan that people across the country have been using, which is call when you can, text when you can't, which is kind of a simple thing to know. It's like calling is best. And then somebody put in their comment here. So that's one thing. So like for text, like number one, call when you can, text when you can't. Number two, so Indiana's ahead of most states. There are a lot of states across the country where some counties or some jurisdictions you can text and some you can't, which is hard. It's great for the jurisdictions where you can, but say you're driving across the country and you think you can text. You're from Indiana, so like you're like, oh yeah, text 911, and you may not be able to, and that's something to keep in mind, that there are some states that have some jurisdictions where you can text and some that you can't. And then Kent here, so I think what you're so I'm not sure if that's text or not because I can't talk and read at the same time. But there are some states that you can text most of the state, but there are multiple 911 centers per county, say, and they have the routing set up where there's one 911 center in the county that takes the text only. So your text might be going to a 911 center that doesn't necessarily know your so it's being dispatched by a center that doesn't necessarily know your geography. So calling, that's another reason why calling is the best thing to do, because then your call, where like lots of things are calls now, is going to the 911 center that's in the jurisdiction. So there's a ton of education that needs to go with text, even though text is a great thing and we need it, especially for deaf and hearing communities and those situations where talking will put you into danger. There's a ton of education, and it's so hard to be like, what is the best way? Like, do you do PSAs? Well, people aren't really watching like real TV anymore. Like, do you like social media seems to be like a really great medium to do this. Also, shows like the 911 show that's on ABC now, like, can we get PSAs in these shows? please.
Of
That's an
real
idea.
information. Of real information.
I mean, I think that would be a very responsible thing. Like, these shows obviously are for entertainment value, but it's educational as well. And what can we do? Like, how do we ram this into people's minds? Because I think they're interested. Like, I get people that know me, know that I work for 911, watch these shows like 911 on Fox, which is not a reality show, obviously.
Right.
No.
And my sister and her friends be like, hey, so this happened. Is that the way it works? And I'm like, Jennifer Love Hewitt is not wearing like a super cute, low cut t-shirt, answering your 911 calls and knowing exactly what you are. So I think
I
there's-
feel a little offended. Like, I think I'm cute like Jennifer Love Hewitt. So you saying that I'm not answering 911 calls?
okay, I'll see how I might be answering. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just like the general. How do I get myself out of this pickle?
Well, what I can say for what I can say PSA wise, and talking about okay, hold on. There's an agreement here. Yes, Sarah, we need PSAs in these shows, especially emergency call, as they are showing actual dispatch centers. Not all centers are so well equipped. So someone who I feel is a pretty good friend now, her and her sister, Jackie, I think you're in the comments right now.
Where's Jackie here?
You can make a suggestion to do that. You can just, while things are going on, after they've done their thing, you can just turn around, look at the camera, and go, okay, now, and do a PSA. Yeah, do a PSA or something.
Is that? Oh, but it's ABC, isn't it? I was gonna say, if it's NBC, you could do the like, it's the more you know.
Oh yeah. Sorry, ABC. She doesn't. Yeah, that's not. So now I'm going to be taken off the air because we're screwing up different networks. No, I'm just playing. Let's see. There's a lot of good information in here, and yeah, like you were kind of saying there in the beginning, Sarah, about Kent. How not every center or every jurisdiction can receive text to 911, so your text may get routed to a center in a different place. There were different things like that as well, where if for whatever reason it didn't go to the center it was supposed to go, it would end up going to like the backup that's there, so that it at least went to a center. So those things that you need to make sure that you have, because there are some companies who are assisting with location accuracy and everything for text sessions as well. But always have that information where you're at. Know your surroundings, man. The general, the cities, some landmarks, anything like that. I think Caitlin had something in here as well. Let me go back up here. We need to know where the incident is, what's happening, are there weapons, expect a text back, because we probably need more than that. And that is good information right there, to go on as well.
I think I have something.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, so Roxy said, like, it seems like folks aren't really interested in texting my area, PSAs, articles, ads. We maybe get one every month or so. I think it's important, too, to remember, like, we're talking about public education and maybe we're throwing out ideas and stuff. But I think it was mentioned before, either it's not one size fits all. So maybe texting in your area isn't a topic that you need to address necessarily. Maybe there's something else you can be a little more go a little harder at for PSAs and such, because it's not. So don't anybody feel like, kind of the vibe of a national 911 scene is to do texting PSAs, that means that's like what's right for your area. Like, do what's right for, your area and what you need your public to know.
So good. Yes.
So I'm adding I'm adding a question in here really quick as we're going into the wrap up of this round, which has been really good. There's so much information that's come in here. I'm going to have to go back into the comments myself and read some, because there are so many comments that have come in. This has been really good. So thank you all for joining us, and starting out with this first piece, and ultimately helping Tanya on what she's doing with this project and stuff. There in my
Helping
notes,
all of us.
there is so much more that we have to talk about, but this is the first part here. So the question that I'm putting in here is, what is your takeaway on public education and what the public should know when calling 911? So I'm putting that into the comments right now, and Sarah, we'll start with you.
Oh, geez, takeaway. Oh, boy. Sorry.
So much we rambled about for an hour. It's hard.
I'm really bad at summarizing.
As her speaking partner can confirm. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, Halcyon, you go. No, whoever. No, I'm just playing. Go ahead.
So my biggest thing right now is that we need to educate adults, and we need them to know, like, we're on the cusp. So my perspective is coming from technology and improvements that are coming, changes that are coming, but also that the changes aren't going to improve public expectations. They're going to meet public expectations. So I think we need to do a better job educating adults on what 911 dispatchers do and why they do it the way that they do it. And when you are in crisis and calling, how do we educate people so that they will remember when they're in crisis and calling what the person on the end of the line is trying to do? And I think that, for me personally, I think location is a huge thing. It's something that I've been working on in my career to educate people that, if they're calling from a wireless phone in the middle of the woods, it's going to be hard. But it's changing. It's changing. That's one of the biggest things with next gen. But, where do we spend our effort? What is the bang for our buck? How do we teach adults who aren't in school what's happening when you call 911 and what to expect? I don't know.
Excellent. No, that's good. I like that. Halcyon.
First, I would say location, just because I feel like we can't say that enough. And if you don't know your location, open up your Compass app on your phone and give me your coordinates. Secondly, I think it's important, even if you don't know how 911 works, always know that it may not make sense to you what I'm doing, but what I'm doing is getting you help.
Yes.
So even if you're not quite sure why I'm asking certain things or what it is, just know that it's getting you help, even if it doesn't make sense to you. And then lastly, I think just coming from like a training kind of standpoint, one of the things about adult learners is you have to take into consideration their experience. So somebody kind of said that you have to meet them where they are, taking their experience, and how can you then come at them and kind of supplement that and meet them and explain stuff. Obviously it looks different than like public or child public education. So although Facebook is great and there's good stuff, sometimes we have to remember that what we're posting or what we're sharing or what our brochures look like, we have to make sure that those are, communicating to the right age group.
Excellent. Now, I was going to go to Tanya, but I think she froze.
Wait, she's frozen.
used to think she was ignoring us by now.
I know. Well, so I saw her look down, and then I was just watching her frame there, and then I thought, okay, either it ended up getting really cold there and she froze, or Gary says sleeping again. So, Tanya, can you hear us?
One of her kids probably got
Okay.
back online.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I can hear you now. She's in the comments. I'm not frozen.
I'm not frozen.
There she is. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
So, I thought you were looking down again. I thought you were going to freeze back up.
I'm checking my phone to see if I'm frozen on my phone.
Well, there's a delay, so you wouldn't.
I know.
So what is your? How about you? Your takeaway on this?
I think that aside from what Sarah and Halcyon said, like a lot of the things that we talked about with the question that you asked out there, I think the thing that kind of stands out the most to me from tonight is that we not only need to educate your general public, but we need to start with even our families. Mm-hmm. So I think that's, I don't know, my head is just like reeling with all of these ideas and things, and I'm going to be bugging all of you guys. So just be prepared for that, because this isn't just my project. I roped all of you in to help me because I know that you will. I know that you know it's important, and it's a little less intimidating when I know that you guys are on board with this. So
awesome. You know, a lot of people are putting in here as well. You know, adults need to be, Roxy specifically says, adults need to be a huge target audience. And all I could think in my head was, and I don't drink anymore or anything, but all I could think in my head was going to a bar and getting in front of a bunch of people and just being like, all right, I'm here to educate you on 911.
What's up, everyone?
Because, you know, everyone is there hanging out and chilling, and they would turn around and be like, what the hell? And I was like, that's right, what the hell? I'm about to educate you on some 911 shit.
About to drop some knowledge, son.
You need to write a rap. Right?
That's
a poem that you can rap. Okay. And like go to open mic night and like accident.
But like, why have we not invested in like the coasters that they use at bars and restaurants? Like, why are those not 911 PSA?
Yes.
Well, who do we talk to about? What manager do we talk about? Let's talk about this.
That would be an interesting thing to do. I mean, there might be a few who do jump on it. And hold on, there's a couple people here. Great idea. Yes, bar education. You know, a lot of people are relaxed at that time, and they probably would start listening, especially if you're telling stories and stuff. It could work.
Do a slam poetry night.
Something like that.
I think the theme here is we need to think outside the box and different from what we've been doing, and that we are so capable of doing this. Like even using social media, and like, yes, our audience are each other usually. But yes, hijack karaoke. So like when we can go to conferences again, like I'm currently rewriting the lyrics to Simply the Best to be for 911.
Nice.
That's going to be awesome.
But I do think, you know, like advertising like everyone else. Like just like billboards, and you know, like if I know my State Farm agent from a billboard, like I should be able to, you know, just different things. I would really encourage everyone. You have great ideas, and we're all, you know, we all have different ideas, and you know, coasters.
We're gonna make it happen. We really are.
I like Sandy. She said 1 year ago, the local McDonald's to create 911 education test liners, and also the local theater to put up a PSA before the movies.
There you go.
Yes, Sandy!
I don't know like how effective the movie theater would be nowadays, but McDonald's is still hopping.
That's true.
Sandy also wrote an amazing children's book about public safety and, stuff like that. Like parents have to read to their children. So
when they let them
it's
stay up late. Yeah.
I have like a block of cheese sitting next to my desk right now. So
what? What is that? What was that?
Is that what you're snacking on?
No, it's what my 2-year-old brought into me. He's like got it.
Oh! I got
there you go, Mom. You need some cheese.
Oh, look at this one. This would be cool too if something like that happened.
That's
all
really
new
smart.
phone purchases and phone setup. That's a good idea too.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yes.
The state of Washington has been doing movie theater PSAs for a few years now. Only reason I know is because NC has also looked at the idea.
Yes, yep. Grayson, that is awesome.
And maybe that's all it is. Maybe you can look for a local restaurant in your community that maybe partners with you for other things. And just say, hey, like if you create these handouts, will you put them in your to-go bags? And it seems kind of silly and like, oh yeah, a lot of people would probably throw them away, but it's really just like about one person at a time. You just get one more person and one more person and one more person.
Yep. Starts here, people. Right now.
A lot of amazing information coming in. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Tanya, Sarah, and Halcyon for joining me for this round 16. This has been excellent. So thank you very much. Halcyon, you're chuckling. Did you fart? What happened?
No.
He's so jealous of me right now. She's just like, here you go.
I'm laughing because I want cheese slices. I'm hungry.
Well, all of you who are joining us here, who have joined us, we've gone almost an hour and a half, and this has been excellent. So much information that has come out of this round, and again, I'm going to have to go into the comments and just read up on all of this here.
Me too.
So many amazing ideas. Thank you all for the job that you do. Just as we were saying, just people don't understand what you do. And you do an amazing job, and one that not many can do. So thank you so much for all of it. And I'm excited for everything that ends up coming out of this. So thank you again for everyone for being on. And this live broadcast has been sponsored by InDigital as well as Rapid Deploy. If you have any comments, questions, or you want to be a guest on the show, you can email us, and that's going to be wttpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter, and that is @91podcast. You can like us on Facebook. That is facebook.com/Within the Trenches podcast. This is so crazy. This show will always be free, but if you're looking for any bonus content, you can check us out at patreon.com/WTT podcast. You can see this on Facebook as well as YouTube and Twitter, and it'll be shared on LinkedIn as well. And the flagship show, Within the Trenches, you can listen 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. You three are hilarious. Thank you all so much once again for joining us, and make sure to check us out next week, Wednesday, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern for round 17 of the Dispatchers Roundtable. And Leah as well as Caitlin are going to be on, and it is going to be another excellent round as we talk about social media in public safety. Have a good one, everyone. This has been awesome. I appreciate all of you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.